Hi, everyone, and welcome back to this week's episode of How Have We Never Seen This Before. This week, we are obviously continuing with the Kissing Booth 2, and we don't have any winners for this week because it's the same movie. But before we begin, we'd like to announce that this is the last episode of Season 1 of How Have We Never Seen This Before, and we'll be taking a 2-week break before we come back for Season 2. All right, let's go through our little intro and then get right back into the discussion.
This is a podcast where two best friends talk about movies they've never seen before.
I'm Isabel.
And I'm Lauren.
And this is How Have We Never Seen This Before.
But
we're not even halfway through my notes. Oh my god.
Oh my god. Okay, so it cuts to the next night, and everyone's at a bar. Elle gets to meet all of Noah's friends, and she's pretty content because Chloe has yet to show her face. However, she comes in right after she says that, and Chloe knows everyone at the bar. She seems really cool. She starts talking about her adventures in life, and she's just a cool person.
Yeah. But Elle's like, this sucks. And like, I gotta go. I have interviews tomorrow. And I guess her interview's at Harvard. But after the interview, the lady's like, let me give you some advice. They wouldn't do this. She's like, I felt like you were answering every question. Like you were searching for the perfect answer. We just want to know you. And while they may want to know you, she's not going to tell you that. And it's also like they see so many people a day. They don't care that much about what you're saying right then. Because they have to go through your application too.
Also, you would assume that after hearing this, that Elle has bombed the interview. No chance she's getting into Harvard. That's what I assumed, but no one seems to say that in the movie because you'll find out later that she does get in.
Ridiculous. So, and then it's another day, and she's packing to leave Jacob's apartment. Jacob. Noah.
Can I just say that in this scene, her wig looked so bad. She's wearing a wig throughout this whole movie because she was filming the Gypsy Rose. Is that her name?
Yeah, I don't know if that's the name of the show or whatever though.
Yeah, so she played the Gypsy Rose character on a show, and so she had to shave her head for it. And so in this whole movie, she's wearing a wig, and it's so bad, especially in this scene.
Okay, everything makes so much more sense now because I was like, her hair looks so weird.
Yeah, it's fake.
But so while she's packing, Noah's in the shower, and she drops something on the floor, and then she sees an earring that I was like, oh, so this is probably Chloe's earring. And then she also sees a text on his phone from her, and there were all these messages, but I couldn't read them because I'm blind.
Same.
So I don't know what they said. But then Noah comes out of the shower, and he's like, what's wrong? And she's like, I gotta go. Bye. And then she goes to the airport.
Yeah, so instead of talking through the problems, communicating, because if you look at the messages, he doesn't cheat on her. They're just kind of like flirty, playful messages, but it's not like it doesn't prove anything.
Yeah.
But yeah, so she's on the plane, she's sad, flying in first class.
So you can afford to go to Harvard. Who flies first class across the country? That's like so expensive.
Oh yeah.
So expensive.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Yep.
Anyway, sorry. Continue.
So when she gets back home, he calls her and she explains the issues that she barely even touches on the issues that she has with Chloe and Noah, their relationship or whatever. And he says that there's nothing going on between him and Chloe, and she believes him. I'm using air quotes right now, but you could tell that deep down she still has her doubts because she never brought up her issues.
Yeah.
Yeah, so she never brought up the main problems that they're having, so the conversation was really not useful at all.
Yeah, and right after they hang up, he puts a picture of them on his story. Like, that fixes everything. And then immediately Chloe calls and he lets her into his apartment. And she's like, "You've been boring since Elle left." And then he says, "I think you're good for me." And then she's like, "I know." And the way he says it's the way he says it. It's like, "Good for you how?"
Hmm. They very much like flirt. It's definitely like flirting straight up.
Yeah.
Um, and it's your own personal belief whether or not you think flirting is cheating, like emotional cheating or not. But they're definitely flirting.
Yeah.
Yeah, so at this point, I thought the movie was almost over, but we're only 50 minutes in and not even halfway through.
Yeah, this is a very, very, very long movie. So Lee and Elle, they're in the arcade, they're practicing, and Lee messes up their big move or whatever. And Lee's asking about Noah, and she's like, "Nothing's wrong, everything's fine." And Lee tells her that him and Rachel are still in kind of an awkward place, like when she left. And then he falls off of the game and he hurts his ankle. And I was like, "You did this on purpose."
Yep, yep,
He
yep.
did. And Lee is like, "You should do this with Marco. He's so good." And then it's like Lee going around trying to convince Marco and also convince Elle that they should do this together. At first, Marco says no, but then he's changes his mind because I think it's because he said that Elle really wanted him to,
Hmm.
and then they
And then, and
practice.
then he told Elle that Marco really wanted to.
Yeah.
Okay, so we get to their first practice, and they're already arguing about like what they should be prioritizing, which is really dumb. Like, shouldn't they just get the dance down first? But
Right? That's what I was thinking. Like, don't you need to learn the dance and then do the accuracy?
mhm. Yeah,
I,
you
I
think.
don't.
How do you do it the other way around?
Yeah, I don't know. And then yeah, so they just argue most of the time. And then it's class the next day and Lee is missing at the very beginning and then we see he's actually in that morning announcements room or whatever and he's like talking directly to Rachel and he's like, I love you." But since she can't really answer him, he's like, "Send me a smiley face if you love me too or send me a poop emoji if you don't." Dumb. And then as he's like, the principal comes in and he's like, "Let's go." And as he's being escorted out, he gets the smiley face and he's like, "She sent a smiley face." And
So you're gonna tell the girl that you love her for the first time, a very intimate thing, while she's already in a fight with you. Um, you're gonna say that you love her in front of your whole entire school. That seems like the best way to make up with someone. Yep.
listen here, boys. That's not the way to do it. Do not take any advice. I repeat, do not take any advice from this movie.
Like, that is such an intimate moment that you should be having that no one else needs to be involved in. It's just you two. And he makes it into this huge romantic gesture, but it's not even that romantic at all. He's just saying I love you on the loudspeaker.
Yeah. It's very weird. And then it's like the next day or later that day or something at Rachel's house and she's like, "Did you tell Elle about like hanging out less?" And he's like, "Don't worry about it. I fixed everything." So he fell off the thing on purpose. Is he actually hurt? Probably not. And then we're at school again and the OMG girls say to Elle, like, "Have you seen the photos of Noah's new supermodel?" And Elle gets all upset and she calls him and he's at the gym and he's like, "Can I call you later? I'm at the
Of
gym."
course he's shirtless too.
And she's like, "No, I really need to talk to you now." And she says that she found the earring on his floor. He says, "You can't think that I cheated on you. Like, I don't know how that got there." And again, she says, "I believe you. Nothing happened." So she just like, I don't know. She doesn't really believe him. Like there's always this like hesitation. It's weird.
Yep. Well, because she doesn't flat out say, like, I'm pretty sure this is Chloe's. Like, let's be real here. She never does that. She never fully
Yeah.
communicates with him. It's just annoying. And can't a girl and a guy ever just be friends?
We've discussed this.
Have
The
we?
answer is no.
Yes, they can.
Eventually, but not like no.
Okay.
Like no. And you know why.
Well, okay.
We've had this discussion.
Stop. Stop it right now. So basically, then it cuts to a scene where Elle is practicing with Marco, and he says that he is more interested in having fun and does some weird backflips. Woo, so fun!
Like he doesn't have any of the accuracy, but he wants to make the dance super complicated. Also, I was really, really, really hoping for a Marco Polo joke somewhere in this movie.
I think they do
The,
have one.
really? I missed it.
I think it was like maybe at field day.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I must have missed that. But I was like, there's like his name's Marco. Come on. Anyway, so the next day at school, Elle sees Lee getting out of his car without his crutches on. And she's like, I caught you. Like, why did you do this? He's like, I thought you'd have a better shot with Marco. Like, that's his excuse. And then she says that she has a new idea for her and Lee's Halloween costume. And we don't know what it is.
But she basically just forgives him, like, for straight up lying. And, like, if you ever faked an injury to get out of spending time with me, I would be so upset. It would take me a long time to, like, get over that emotionally. But she just doesn't care. Maybe she doesn't
Yeah.
realize why he did it, but
It's like, I don't know. She like really believes he had her best interests at heart, I guess.
yeah. But then it cuts to. Oh, so Elle is back at home and she's trying to get in touch with Noah. I don't know why I wrote his last name down for some of these. And his friends answer his phone and they're like, yeah, sorry, Flynn went to a concert with Chloe. And I guess he left his phone here. And she's like, are you kidding? They want to, like, he's ditching me for her, which is understandable because they set out like a certain time to FaceTime every week. And so he just completely blew her off without even saying anything.
Also, like at this point, I was like, I feel like she's gonna do something really stupid. I feel like in movies like this, that's always the point where the girl's like, let me go screw this up even worse, even though nothing's actually happening.
Yep. And so she does. Um, the next scene is her and Marco practicing, and they're fighting, and then they're having a moment, and she's like, "Let's get something to eat." So now they're eating on a Ferris wheel. They look like they're gonna kiss. And then she talks about how poor she is. And, she does seem kind of like a hypocrite right now because she is upset with her boyfriend because he's spending time with a girl that he just met and it just became friends with. But yet, she feels the need to talk about all of this deep stuff with her guy friend who she just met.
And they're on a Ferris wheel.
It seems
Like,
as though both of them are emotionally cheating just the same.
and like she like says that she admires him for wanting to be happy, and she's like something. The dance thing is her moonshot. Like I think it's like that shoot the moon game. I don't know if you've ever played that.
Yeah.
Like yeah, so it's like the shoot the moon game, and the dance competition's her moonshot, and they're like talking about their dreams or whatever, and then they don't kiss, but it
Mhm.
really looks like they're going to.
Yeah, and he starts romantically humming this song on the guitar, and she's just staring at him with hard eyes.
And they're sitting on the beach while like they moved to the beach, so now
Yeah.
they're just sitting watching the waves with the amusement park behind them. And
This movie makes it seem like it's okay for her to do that, but it's not okay for Noah to be friends with Chloe.
yeah, like if she were doing this with Lee, it would be a different story because we know their like their friendship. Like she's There's clearly something else going on.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then she asks him, or no, he asks her if she thinks her and Noah are meant to be together. But then she's like, I don't know. And he's like, if I were him, I wouldn't make you feel like this.
Mm-hmm. Like, she's such a hypocrite. And the movie doesn't make it seem like she's wrong.
But she
But
is.
she absolutely 100% is also in the wrong, just as much as he is. He's not the villain. They both are. In fact,
If
wait,
anything,
no.
she's
She,
worse.
you're right, because of what she does later. You're right. Oh, it just annoys me so much. But sorry for getting heated yet again. So now we go to the next scene, and Noah and Elle are talking, and he apologizes for blowing her off, and not bringing his phone. And she asks who he went to the concert with, and he lies. So basically, she asks Noah who he went to the concert with, and he lies and says the guys and not Chloe. And you know, big mistake there, buddy. You probably should have just admitted that you went to the concert with her instead of lying, because then makes her think that you're cheating even more.
Yeah. I don't understand the logic with that. Because it happens, it's not just a movie thing. It's like, just say it. Because if you say it, you're saving yourself what's going to be even worse later.
Hmm.
It's bad now, but it could be worse if you just wait.
Yeah, and if you don't say who you're hanging out with, it makes it seem like you have something to hide. And if nothing's
Yeah.
going on, then just say it. You don't have to hide. You could just say, yeah, I hung out with Chloe. Like, we're getting close. Like, we're friends. Like, that's all you have to say. Like, and he's never before given her a reason to doubt him, but now that he lied, now she has a reason to doubt him.
Yeah, like he's had a iffy past with girls, but he's since being with her, he's hasn't done anything. So there isn't like any reason to doubt him at this point. I mean, until now. So then it's maybe that weekend or something, and Elle's at Lee's house and they're carving pumpkins, and then Rachel comes over with her own pumpkin, and then she's like, "Oh, I thought like Lee, I thought you and I were doing this together." And he kind of avoids it. He's like, "Oh, we just like got carried away." And they're like, "Oh, let's go do something." And then all three of them go to the beach. And while they're there, Rachel's like, "Lee, let's go on a walk together so they can get away from Elle."
Elle brings her laptop to the beach too, which is just weird.
Like all the sand in your computer. Oh my
Yeah.
god.
But then this this guy named Ollie comes up to Elle, and she all of a sudden starts inquiring about his relationship with this guy, which is kind of weird. If someone's not out of the closet yet to pry into their sexuality a bit, I don't know.
Like the whole thing, like I don't know. Like I just felt weird about how that all happened, and just like I feel like I don't know how necessary it was for the movie either. Like, why did just to put it in there that she helped get them together?
But she didn't really that much.
I know.
Um, I okay, I'm all for like LGBTQ representation in movies, but this seemed like such an afterthought, and this movie was it just seems like it was casually placed into the storyline. And this movie's already so long that adding this as an afterthought, not even incorporating it more into the storyline, was just not it. Not the right move.
Yeah, there. I don't. It just it felt like an afterthought. I agree. Like there wasn't. If that had like played into the story, I totally want it there, but it was just there because they felt like, oh, we should throw this in there.
Yeah. They're like, "Oh, every other couple in this movie is straight. Like, let's just throw in this story." You
Yeah,
know?
I
Bad decision.
so then it's Halloween night, and they're going to this Halloween party, and so their change in costumes turns out to be they become the Ghostbusters, and
So lame.
Rachel's not there.
It's so
Yeah.
lame compared to their other costume.
So they originally they were supposed to be like s'mores. Like Rachel was a marshmallow and they were the two crackers. And Lee just didn't tell Rachel about the change in costume and she comes as a marshmallow, which is so awful on Lee's part. Like I don't get why, like I hate that when like why is Rachel getting mad at Elle for this? This was all Lee. Like he could have just said no to changing the costume, or he should have just told her.
It's so dumb because in our society, whenever whenever like a guy does something wrong with like another girl, it's always the other girl's fault and they blame her, not the guy. It like doesn't make sense. Like Chloe, Elle hates Chloe, but Chloe's not doing anything wrong if like Noah is acting the same towards her. Like she doesn't have any responsibility to tell him to stop because she doesn't know about their relationship. Like she doesn't know that Elle is mad at her. And like same with Rachel and Elle. Like why is she blaming Elle for everything when Lee is the one that's lying to both of them?
Yeah.
It's always the other girl's fault, not the guy's fault in our society, which is annoying.
Yeah. So and while they're at the Halloween dance, I don't remember if I said it, but Rachel comes dressed as the marshmallow because Lee forgot to tell her. But Marco is also playing in the band that's up on stage. Like, of course, he's been there for 2 months now. He's part of a band. Anyway, and then he like comes off the stage and everyone's in a slow dance. And then he asked her to dance. And they're like, the OMG girls are talking about them while they're dancing. And then they're so close to each other. I wrote no room for Jesus, but like,
Like that is straight up cheating.
yeah, that is just why. Like, why? Like, how would you think that is okay?
Yep. And then they also almost kiss too when they're snuggling up real close to each other.
Yeah, I don't. Elle, what are you doing? But also, on a personal note, I think it's movies like this that make me overthink when people like play songs or something because they've taught me to think that the lyrics to the songs mean something in the moment, you know?
I know. I always look up song lyrics when someone sends me songs, even though I know that like they don't mean anything. But so there's a dance circle that breaks out after they stop dancing together slowly, and Lee and Elle decide to get in the middle and start doing this like crazy dance, like pretty good honestly for an impromptu dance off. And you see just Rachel, the sad marshmallow in the corner, getting pissed off, and she like runs away and Elle chases after her. She's like, let me handle this, like maybe I could talk to her. And Rachel basically screams at Elle that she never lets them have any time, Lee and Rachel have any time alone together, and says it's all Elle's fault, and is just ragingly jealous of Elle.
It made me so upset. Like, what does this do? If Elle's still around, then clearly Lee didn't tell her to give them some space. Like, why would you get mad at Elle?
Yeah. It's your relationship. If you and your boyfriend aren't communicating, that's no one else's fault but your own.
Yeah, I agree. Anyway, after she blows up, she runs away, and Lee goes to follow her and follows her back home, and then they kind of start to separate at this point, and Elle starts going to school by herself, and Rachel goes with Lee, and she gets to sit in the front seat and stuff, but Lee seems kind of upset when it's just Rachel. She's like, if you know how you feel, like, if she's pulling you away from your best friend when that's not something that you feel comfortable with, then that's a problem with your relationship.
Exactly. And also, Elle is being super passive aggressive to Noah instead of just saying how she feels. And at this point, her only friend is Marco.
Yeah, they're like hanging out more and more, and they're practicing all the time. And if they're not practicing, she's pretty much just alone. And Noah and Chloe are hanging out, and they were at a comedy club in one of the scenes, and the comic like thinks they're a couple. And then we also see when Elle and Marco are hanging out, Marco printed out the dance steps to get better accuracy, and she's like, "Oh, that's cute."
Mm-hmm.
And as they hang out more and more, their accuracy gets better.
Mm-hmm.
And this whole montage thing ends with Noah texting Elle and being like, "We need to talk tonight." So
Why does Elle always have her ringer on during class? And
I know.
also, the way that she opens her phone makes it seem like she deletes all her messages with Noah, because every time he texts her, it comes up as like a new conversation.
I know. I never delete my messages. I have messages from you that are probably 8 years old.
Yep. Yep. It's
Like, what if you
insane.
need that information for
But
some reason?
exactly. What if you need to pull up some receipts? But yeah, anyway, right after their text conversation, I guess, she starts to stalk Chloe again and finds out that it is indeed her earring that was under Noah's bed. She sees it in one of her Instagram photos. And then she starts like having a full on breakdown in class, and no one seems to notice or care. I guess maybe care. Yeah, so then it cuts to they're back at dance rehearsals, Marco and Elle. And tomorrow is the big day. It's the big DDM dance off. And Marco is being so cringy, being like, just let go. And then there's like a weird, it's seemed like in like an 80s or 90s music video. Like
It was so weird.
the background was like half, I forget what there's a term for it, but the background is like opaque, and there are images of the earring, of like random things that she's thinking about while she's
It's kind of like,
dancing.
yeah, it's kind of like the last few months of her life that are playing in the background and how everything went wrong. But it's also like this weird, they're doing this weird interpretive dance in front of the montage.
Imagine seeing
And
this at an arcade.
it's so weird. And then at one point, it's like she lets go and she's getting into the dance. And there's like all these dips in the dance, and it's like they're gonna kiss. And it's all this build up to them kissing, but it never happens. It's just
Yes.
like, just do it because I know it's gonna happen.
No, when it happens, it needs to be at the specific moment that it happened at, though.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. At the last dip in the song, they're right real close. And she's like, "Oh, gotta go." And as she's like walking away, he's like, "Your shoes are untied," which was their thing from the field day. And she gives a little chuckle, and then she leaves. And he says moonshot. So that was his shoot for the moon, I guess.
It
Which
sounds kind of sexual.
he didn't do anything. How's that your shot? Like, I
It's
don't.
kind of. Do you know those things that are like, I can't believe this boy didn't read my signs, and then it says like her signs, and it's just her thinking about him. Like
Yeah.
that me shooting my shot is imagining scenarios with a boy, and I feel like that's Marco. So yeah, so after the she leaves the arcade, she talks to Noah on the phone, and Noah is like, "Yeah, we're having a lot of issues, but I'm gonna be home in 2 days. Wink, wink, 2 days. But I think that we should really hash this out in person, like because obviously we're not communicating well over the phone, which is good. That's a good thing to do. Good job, Noah." So then she agrees, and it is the day of the dance competition next. It's at this giant convention center in California, and everyone there is like a professional dancer. And of course, Lee's not there, her family's not there. But you know who is there? Noah and Marco.
Yes. Also, like, why isn't Lee there? Like, put aside everything, this is a huge deal for Elle. As her best friend, I think Lee should be there if possible, unless there's some big thing in his way, and there's not.
Dude,
All he does,
Lee is the worst friend.
he sucks. And all
He's
he does is
toxic.
He just texts her good luck and then you left your bag in my car. And I was thinking that would be a problem with Rachel, but it was a problem in other ways. And like the stage for this competition is huge and you see all these different people performing and they're all amazing. So much better than Elle and Marco.
Oh yeah.
Sorry. But then they're up next. Then it's Elle and Marco's turn.
Yeah, and during that, you find out that Lee finds her Harvard application stuff in the bag that she left in his car. And of course, he's pissed because God forbid Elle does something independently. Like, he ignores her for so long and then gets mad when she applies to a school that's not the same one that he's applying to. Like, are you kidding me?
But also she should have told him. Like if
Yeah.
this is something that they've been planning, like just be like, "Hey, I'm applying to other schools as a backup."
Yeah.
Not a big deal. Why
And
keep that?
a normal person would be mad that that their best friend didn't tell them they were applying to different schools and assume that they would react horribly. But what Lee does is get mad that she actually applied to different schools, which is
Yeah.
blasphemy. Blasphemy because he is the worst. Like, he ignores her for so long and acts like an awful friend, and like Lee like he like treats his girlfriend like he's more important than their lifelong friendship and expects her to follow him to college after ignoring her, and then gets mad when she is thinking about not doing that.
Why do the Flynn boys expect her to follow both of them?
Yeah.
What?
Um
Anyway,
I'm just annoyed, bro.
yeah. And so they're doing their dance or whatever, and Lee is watching it online because for some reason he's not there. And in the middle of the dance, Elle whispers to Marco, like, let's have some fun. And then they change up their entire routine and do flips and stuff. Like, that's not gonna happen. You had so much trouble trying to figure out this dance for 9 weeks, and now you're like, let's change it.
Also, wouldn't that mess up
What?
your accuracy too?
Yes, and somehow, they get 100% accuracy.
You can
No.
also see that, well, like, I know that a lot of it is her dancing, but you can tell the parts that it's not because they won't show her face. And like the big like lifts and stuff are not her. But you when she is dancing, you can see that she misses the buttons every time. Every time she's not on the buttons.
It's like, there's no way.
No
I don't.
chance.
And when they finish, everyone's clapping and they're like, oh my god. And like they're in the dip or whatever. And then they're staring at each other for a little too long. And then Noah realizes what's going to happen. And then they kiss. And it's just like,
Noah's face looked so funny when they kissed. She's horrible. She cheated on him in front of the entire world.
right? Like,
She was so mad at him for hanging out with some other girl, but it's seemingly okay for her to just straight up smooch some man in front of her boyfriend.
where does that happen? That happens a lot in something. And it's either after or it's like a movie.
I don't
That's
know.
not after.
I have no idea, but this would never happen in real life. No one's that bad of a person.
It's like as soon as something happens, they assume that. No, it's definitely after. Yep. She like thinks Harry cheats on her, and then she just goes and kisses Zayn.
Oh yeah.
That's it.
Um but yeah, so not only does she break her boyfriend, her loving boyfriend's heart who came to the show to see her, but she's also breaking Marco's heart because she led him on this entire time. And
Yeah.
she did not reject his kiss. She embraced it. But she also sees that Noah's in the crowd watching this all go down. Then she tries to run off stage, but they stop her and they say that she won the competition and hand her a check
They
for
wouldn't.
yeah, like how she performs and they're like, "Oh, that's it. Stop the show. Everyone, they won." No
No.
deliberation.
God. They weren't even the best ones there. Ugh. Anyway.
It's like how in Camp Rock, the girl who wins the singing competition was nowhere near as good as the people who sang Hasta la Vista.
I know. Both, like, Camp Rock, totally rigged. Also, all the Glee competitions,
Oh, yeah.
half of the time, 3/4 of the time, they shouldn't have won. But
Some things you just hold on to. And I was holding on to the Camp Rock thing.
so after they win their money, Elle runs and is trying to find Noah, but Marco runs after her, and she's like, "I can't do this right now. Like, we can't. I'm sorry, but you're not the one." Or maybe she says that later,
She said that
but she
later.
does say, "You're." It's like, you've been leading him on this entire time. Please stop. And like, Noah won't answer her texts. Lee won't answer her texts. But they're still having Thanksgiving all together at the Flynn Beach House. And
I don't think it was
Rachel's
at
there
their beach
too.
house.
Oh, it's at their normal house. Why would you're in California. Why would you have a beach house and a regular house? Just have a regular house as your beach house.
They live like 10 minutes away from the beach, and yet they have a beach house.
That's so dumb. How rich, like, what?
It doesn't make any sense. Yeah, so Elle shows up to Thanksgiving with her family and the Flynns, and she sees that Lee is avoiding her, and she goes up to Rachel to ask what his deal is. And Rachel's like, please just don't speak to me, brushes her off too. And then she hears Noah say that he's there, and Noah walks in with Chloe, and I was like, oh, buddy, why'd you do that? Good Lord. So, like, no one knows that sorry, my brain just malfunctioned there. No one knows that Elle has a problem with Chloe. So, why wouldn't he tell her that she's going to come to Thanksgiving? And just say, like, hey, look, like, I want you and Chloe to be friends. So, I'm bringing her to Thanksgiving. That's all he had to
Right,
say.
just to blindside someone like that. It, ugh.
Yep. And also, wouldn't Elle perhaps see the extra place setting on the table, hear her dad talking about it, hear the mom talking about it? Someone,
Yeah, I really don't know. There's no communication.
yeah,
Anyway, then
so,
it's dinner.
so awkward.
Dinner's awkward. And then everything gets brought up. The big, like, drop is that Lee never told Elle about telling her not to hang around anymore. Because,
Well,
like, Rachel and Elle are well, I think that's the first
there
thing.
are many jaw-dropping sentences spoken
Yeah.
at this dinner, but that was the first one.
Yeah. So yeah, the first one is Lee, like, everyone finding out that Lee never told Elle not to hang around as much. So Elle and Rachel are both screaming at Lee because Rachel's like, "You told her, like, tell her you told her." And Elle's like, "I have no idea what you're talking about." And basically it comes out that Lee never told her, and Rachel just leaves. There's some flashback from the last movie about how if Elle didn't like Rachel, he would break up with her or something. And Rachel thinks Lee doesn't really care about her that much or something, which was weird.
The most jaw-dropping thing that happens next is Elle pulls out an earring. She plays that card. She just has it ready at the table, which is pretty savage. And she's like, "Yeah, I found Chloe's earring under your bed." And the whole table is like shocked, as anyone would be. And so Elle storms off and leaves everyone just to sit there like,
And she, like, tells her dad, she's like, "I'm going to go save the only relationship that's worth saving." And I was like, oh, she's going to find Lee. But no, she goes to find Rachel.
Rachel sucks.
What?
I know, it's really dumb. So yeah, so she goes to find Rachel, and she starts talking to her, and they make up because Rachel finally realizes that it's not Elle's fault. That
Took her long enough.
Yeah, that she's having relationship problems. It's Lee's fault. And she's basically like, yeah, it's unsavable, but I know it's not your fault. And so they make up. Thank God, because finally Elle might have a friend again.
Yeah, and then Rachel says, like, "But don't worry about me right now. like rule number 16, when your best friend needs you, you need to be there.
Yeah.
So, but before she goes to Lee, we see Noah and Chloe at a bar, and she says that her earring was at his place because she stayed there when he was gone some weekend.
Where would he have gone? That's what I want to know.
Yeah, and like he says that he was lying about this so this wouldn't happen, like was lying about them hanging out so this wouldn't happen in the first place. And so this part like bothered me kind of. She says, "I'm one of the few girls that is not persuaded by your charm or whatever." And I was like, "Are you trying to allude to the fact that she's gay, or what are you trying to do? Because that's not how you do it."
Mm-hmm.
What's they can like I don't know. Why?
Yep. I simply do not understand. Like, she should have just straight up said, like, I'm gay, so like maybe she should know that. Because
Yeah,
it
like
also implies that he tried to charm her.
it's just very, very weird.
Yeah. But we find out that there was no physical cheating between the two of them. But it still makes it out to seem like the movie makes it out to seem like he's the bad guy. And it seems to really try to justify Elle's cheating, which
Yeah,
you can't justify what she did.
I
Like,
know.
it makes no sense. And everyone left Mrs. Flynn to clean up the mess, which is just awful, too.
I know. Yeah, Elle like goes to their mom for advice, and she's like, there was like a lot of talking there. You should start listening to each other."
Hmm.
Which honestly they should talk because they don't talk.
Yeah. They don't talk or listen.
I know.
But Elle decides to bring something. We don't know exactly what it is yet. When she talks to what's his name? Oh, Lee. Yeah. So then Lee's at the arcade. They're chatting. They make up, and they also break a wishbone. That's what Elle brought because it's rule number 5. How is that rule number 5?
I
Like,
know, right? Like out of all your rules, that came up at the beginning.
like what scenario got you in that one?
Yeah, it's very weird. And he wishes that Rachel will give him a second chance, but he gets the short end of the stick or the bone. And Elle's like, "I'm giving us 48 hours to be sad, and then we have to have the kissing booth or whatever."
Mm-hmm.
And Marco texts her as they leave the arcade, and that says they need to talk, but she completely ignores it.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's the homecoming football game. Yeah, Lee and Elle are sitting together, and Noah and Chloe are sitting together. And then somehow, Lee becomes homecoming king.
It doesn't make any
How?
sense. I don't see the point of having that in the story.
I know, there's no point to that either. You just made the movie longer.
Yeah. So then Lee and Rachel make some weird eye contact from across the bleachers, and she like runs away crying or whatever. Noah and Chloe then are walking across the field because the game's over, and they're I guess trying to leave. And the Marco, oh my god, I'm getting like all jumbled up with these names. Marco comes up to, well, he shouts at Noah from across the field and says congratulations, and then they kind of have this weird standoff where they're like, "You didn't mean that. Like, you didn't mean congratulations. You're not congratulating my brother." And you think that they're going to fight because Noah clenches his fist. But
It's the
then,
Arthur fist.
literally. And then Chloe, that's her name, Chloe kind of calms him down and they walk off. And Marco goes to talk to Elle, but it's too late because she already ran away.
Yeah. And then there's the kissing booth.
Yep. Kissing booth time.
And there's just like a lot of awkward, gross kissing.
Between high schoolers.
Yeah, disgusting, honestly.
I
And
wrote at the beginning of the scene, how much do you want to bet Miles and Ollie are gonna smooch?
oh, yeah. Oh, that I didn't know their names, but I was like, yeah, they're gonna kiss.
Yep.
But so Lee's doing the kissing booth, and he has his blindfold on, and they lead him up to the stage. But then Rachel's also doing the kissing booth, and they blindfolded her, and then they like go to have them kiss each other, and then they realize who they're kissing and everything's good again.
There is a line in this that like really bothered me. So after they make up, he says that Rachel is the most important person in his life.
Yeah.
His
But
high school girlfriend of what, 6 months is the most
no, it's a
important.
year. It's a year since the last.
But were they dating at the last kissing booth?
Yeah. That's when they started.
Okay, his high school girlfriend of a year is the most important person in his life. Not his mom, not
But
anyone in his family, not Elle.
and also like he wouldn't tell Elle not to hang around because he wants her around all the time. So clearly Elle is more important.
Yeah, and that's not a bad thing.
I know.
Like, your high school girlfriend of 1 year probably shouldn't be the most important person in your life.
Well, basically they don't talk at all and everything's fine.
Yep. They don't hash
And
out any of these issues.
yeah, and Elle's like, I made the same wish as Lee. I wish for them to get back together and everything worked out. Blah blah blah.
Yep.
So then Chloe and Noah are at the airport because they're flying back to Boston, and Noah's like looking longingly at pictures of Elle and him.
What made me laugh about this part is that it's actual pictures of them when they were together as a couple.
That's
And
so weird.
so he's longingly looking at pictures of his ex in real life when they were together. And
Ew.
later, when the credits start rolling, they cut to a blooper of this scene, and he's like looking through the pictures of them together, and he's like, yeah, just looking at these pictures, really trying to get in the mood. Like, that's how much he had to convince himself
Yes.
to feel emotions during this scene.
And basically like Chloe's like, you have to do something, just like go tell her you love her. And then there's like Ollie, right?
Yep.
Ollie comes up to the kissing booth stage, and this girl comes up to kiss him, but he freaks out and then goes to find Miles in the crowd, and then they kiss, and it's great. But I don't know why they added it in.
I love how all the jocks in the scene are like, yeah, bro. And like the really buff guys are like cheering them on. I thought that was cute.
Yeah. And then so now it's Elle's turn to be the kissing person, and I was like, oh, so it's either gonna be Noah or Marco up on
Yep.
stage.
I wrote that down.
And it's Marco. And Marco's like, I hope my ticket is worth at least a minute of your time. And then they like talk about all their problems in front of everybody.
Yeah. They're airing out their dirty laundry in front of this huge crowd just watching this all go down.
I don't get it. But basically she's saying that like, I guess I did have feelings for you, but you're not the one. And then she's like, peace, gotta go find Noah. And I was like, huh, I was actually right from what I said at the beginning of the movie. Like, she does end up with Noah.
Yeah, and she says, quote unquote, she wants to hear Noah out, as if he's the one that did something completely wrong and she didn't cheat on him in front of him. What?
Yeah.
It's making it seem like he's the one that needs to apologize.
It's so ridiculous. And then she kisses him on the cheek. Like, I hate when people do that because it's just making it more painful.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, then she runs to go get Noah, and she makes it to the airport, but his flight is boarding, and she sees Chloe waiting for the plane, and she's like, where's Noah? And she's like, Noah left to look for you.
Yeah.
He only brought me home so we could be friends.
And also, how is she able to get to the waiting area for how is she able to get to the gate if she didn't go through security?
No idea.
She didn't
No
purchase a
idea.
boarding pass. How?
I don't get it. And Noah's like at the kissing booth, and he's like, he texts her, he says, meet me at the place. Who would know what that means? If they have all these places, like you said.
Yep. I would assume it's the Hollywood sign, honestly.
Yeah, so they go to this gazebo from last time, and then they run to each other, and he's like, I became friends with Chloe because I wanted to have a friendship with her like you have with Lee. And then he asks her, do you love Marco? And she says, no, it's always been you.
At that point, if someone tells you it's always been you, word of advice, it's always been you plus 7 other girls or boys who they're talking to at the moment. I know this from personal experience that if someone says to you, it's always been you, it's not you. You're not the one. Run. Run for the hills.
So then they kiss, and I was like, how do they do this? Their height difference is way too big. And
She
she's like,
doesn't apologize for cheating on him either.
there's no communication again. And so now she's looking at her college essay again, and then she deletes the whole thing and starts over. And it's graduation day. So we just skipped like 6 months. And she says that in 5 years, it's not about what I want to be, it's about who I want to be. And her essay is so bad.
It's so bad.
So informal. You wouldn't be getting in. Sorry.
She also is talking about like who she wants to be in reference to other people, aka the boys in her life.
And also, like, they wouldn't know. They would be like, what are you even talking about?
Yeah. I hate to break it to you, but if you ever sound like that on your college essay, you should probably just not apply at all and
Yeah.
save yourself the $50 application fee.
And also, since it's graduation day, she asks Lee where he got in. Like, you would have known this 2 months ago. But anyway, she's like, I got into Berkeley. And then they ask her, and she's like, I got waitlisted everywhere because your essay sucks. And then,
Or so we thought.
so we thought. And then you see that Marco's like watching this conversation go down, and a friend says to him, he's like, it's not worth it. But then as soon as that friend walks away, he says, yes, she is. So, like, sequel thing. But then they go on a motorcycle ride, and Lee and Rachel are driving, and they're like racing up a mountain. And they don't pay attention to the freaking road.
I thought they were honestly going to get into an accident.
Oh, so did I.
And that was going to be the plot of the third movie.
But so the movie ends with her sitting in her room. She has 2 envelopes. She opens them, and she just got accepted into both UC Berkeley and Harvard. No.
Simply.
Anyway, what did you think about the movie?
Well, as much as I absolutely, deep into my core, hated this movie, I unfortunately have to admit that I also loved this movie at the same time.
Oh my God.
I love to hate it. Any movie that makes you feel the emotions that we were going through, whether or not it's anger, pure rage, sadness, disappointment, it's playing with your emotions. And honestly, like if that's the goal of the movie, like I don't know. I feel like any movie that makes me think that much and suffer through all those emotions, I love it.
I guess. I didn't love it. It stressed me out, but I'll probably watch the third one.
Yeah. Hate it, but probably watch the next one and probably watch it again.
Yeah.
I don't think I have. There are no questions to ask at this point.
Yeah, I think we've gone on for too long about this movie.
Yep. It was too long.
Yeah, too long. 2 hours was way too much. Like, this movie definitely could have been at least an hour and a half. Probably an hour and 20.
Yeah, I wish they would have formatted it for television because then we wouldn't have to sit through so much. But
well, this was a downgrade from last week, but hopefully we're taking a step forward next week.
yeah, if you would like to, if you want more of how have we, if you want more of how have we never seen this before, feel free to follow us on Instagram at How Have We Never Podcast and participate in our weekly Guess the Movie challenges, or like us on Facebook. Facebook is How Have We Never Seen This Before. And yeah, let us know if you have any movie suggestions or any any comments on our discussion.
Yeah. It would be fun to hear from you all.
Yeah, all one of you.
I think it's like 4.
Oh, all 4 of you.
We love you. We love you.
I love my fans.
you're you're the most important people in our lives.
It's always been you. And on that note, see you later.
We'll see you next week. Bye.
Bye.
Hey, congratulations. You've made it to the end of our podcast. We hope you enjoyed listening. How Have We Never Seen This Before is produced by Isabel Barone. The music is by Scott Holmes. The podcast art is by Michael Beaumont over at Monitor Comics. And our social media is run by Lauren Cola. Thanks for listening.